Hey guys, it's Alicia. Now I know this is maybe a little different intro than what you're used to, but this episode was one of the toughest episodes that I have recorded, which took me probably 5 takes to just do the intro and leading into the episode. So I separated it and I needed to allow myself just to tell my story. So with this episode is going to be about the process of the mindset and the healing process, whatever process you go through about losing a loved one. And this is my story. And I hope that my story helps you guys deal with your loved ones and at least overcome it. Not get over it, but at least get through the pain and the hurt and to be able to go forward. Here's my story, and I am Alicia, and that's Real Talk. So this was what, the summer of 2007. I was 9 years old when I lost my father, and that was probably the most impactful death that I ever witnessed in my life. Um, So this is like the second week into the summer break. If you guys don't know by now, I hadn't said in previous episodes that my parents were divorced, so I went back and forth between Cleveland and Youngstown. Spent all my breaks with my father, and this time it definitely, looking back at it, it definitely felt a little bit weird. It was a weird sense that was going on. Um, my father picked me up. He had my nephew with him, which is always fun at the time. He was like so small and little. Now he talks back like he's grown and all that stuff like that. And I remember after we dropped my nephew off, we went back to my dad's house, and we have a thing where I hope I really pass this tradition on with my kids, where we literally sit outside, look at the stars, or even watch the sunset, and just look at the sky in the mornings. And I remember just sitting there talking. I remember my dad. It was like a week after my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday is June 6th, so I remember we came back and he had a new patio set that my brother bought him, and my dad just thought it was the nicest gift ever. And he just started to think about wanted to buy my mom a gift. Now my dad, despite their relationship and everything like that, I know he had a good heart, and he wanted to give her something special. We just recently moved to prior, and he asked us like, "Oh, do you guys got a balcony, stuff like that?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Okay, I think I'm gonna buy your mom a nice little seating thing for your balcony." And what was this? This had to be like Saturday, cause Sunday was like literally the last day. Vividly as I remember, like Sunday was the last day I literally witnessed with my father, and at this time it was Father's Day. We went to the church and all that stuff like that. They did a little Father Day special for the deacons and stuff like that. I remember telling one of my dad's former girlfriends, I was like, "Hey, I like this. I haven't seen her in like months or whatever, and like going back and forth between Cleveland and Youngstown. I don't really see nobody all like that, especially when I get back." I was like, "Hey, just say hi. I mean, it's Father's Day. Just say hi." She told me no, she'll speak to him another time. Oh boy, was she wrong. Then the following day is when like my whole life decided to change for good. Um, I remember waking up. A lot of people don't know the actual true story, but I remember waking up. I remember I never really slept in my room. Like I always stayed close to my dad. I don't know. I was just a daddy's girl. I just never wanted to leave his arms. I remember waking up. The alarm was going off. No, the phone was ringing. I remember touching my dad. I'm like, "Hey, the phone is ringing." I'm like, Dad, the phone is ringing. And my dad was not responding back, and I remember we was talking about how Then this is so ironic how like literally the last time me and him spoke and stuff like that, like before the last time I went back to visit him, we was talking about how do you know when someone's not breathing and stuff like that. You check the neck and you check the wrist. I did all that stuff, and I immediately the first thing I didn't call 911. I was too scared. I was a kid by myself. I wanted help, so I called my brother. He's in class. I knew he was in class, but this was an emergency and he wasn't responding. I called his house because I know his wife was there. I called again. No one was answering. I called my brother one more time. I called the house again. My sister-in-law finally answered, and I told her my dad was not responding. He wasn't waking up. And she asked me, "Did I call 911?" I said no. And she said, "Okay, I'll call it for you." I was like, "I'm gonna call your mom," all that stuff like that. I knew she called 911 because literally I lived down the street from the hospital, so I knew that the call went through because I heard the sirens go off. And okay, silly moment. I'm sorry, but I had the biggest fear of dogs. Okay, I'm a Southside kid, and I'm little. Even as an adult, I'm 5'4". I'm scared of big ass dogs. So the neighbor's dog, broke loose again. At that moment, I grabbed the golf thing, and I was willing to whoop that dog's ass at that moment. Because at this time, it's like I don't have time to deal with this shit. The ambulance arrived. They come. Next thing I know, my pastor. I live down the street from my church as well. The pastor rose up right behind the ambulance. At that moment, I knew my mom was in contact. My mom told my sister-in-law to get Reverend there to the house, get somebody there to the house while you're on your way there. My pastor arrives, my sister-in-law's arrived. My brother calls me in the middle of all this chaos, and I told him to know that he wasn't waking up. And this sense of fear came over me. It was just like, if I open up this door, my father's gonna wake up. Cause my dad was highly protective and like a little strict. So in my head, I'm thinking if I open up this door, my father's gonna come out the thing and just bust down, just come down the stairs and be like, "No, what are you doing? Don't open up the door." And I open up the door and like, he didn't come and stop me, all that stuff like that. Um, as time went on, people started arriving. More people from the church started arriving, and at that moment, the ambulance people were just like, "It's too late. We have to call the coroner to come get the body," and all that stuff like that. Even I knew it was probably too much too late because he was not waking up, not responsive, and none of stuff like that. The last time I seen my father was literally with him resting his hand over his heart. Now that I'm older, it just indicated that my father was at peace. And, you know, he had his flaws. Like, my dad definitely had his flaws. To the point I feel like he was trying to make his rights with everybody and make his peace. He wasn't perfect, but he damn sure was my superhero. And once they called the coroner and stuff like that, it was just pretty much like, like this is the reality of my life. Um, More people from the church started coming. At this time, it was Champs that was going on at my church, and Champs is like the vacation Bible school that I used to go to when I was younger. And once then the corner people arrived, and I literally just lost it. I walked away and just I questioned God for the first time ever. I questioned God. I'm like 9 years old, asking God, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why? Why are you doing this to me? I don't remember who was holding me. I don't remember who hugged me tight and literally told me, stop, breathe, and don't say that no more. And I literally just felt and cried and did everything that I needed to do. And at this moment, they wanted me to get out the house. They wanted me just to go. So my sister-in-law got me dressed and she took me to the church and to participate in the vacation Bible school. A lot of people didn't know at the time. I think most of the people were aware of what was going on. Because when I got there, one of the little cooks ladies who were super close to the family, she literally told me, she's like, you need to eat. She's like, I'm gonna force you to eat, or either way it goes, you need to eat right now. And I just could not eat. I don't even remember. I think I did eat later on that day, but I just could not eat. Everybody, the kids was like, what is wrong with you? And also like that. And I'm like, my father just passed. They was like, you're lying, you're joking. I was like, no, my father is dead. And I literally just broke down. They pulled me away from all the kids and all that stuff like that. The church was redesigned. So the old church was connected to the new design church. And we were sitting in the old sanctuary, and the lady that I told to speak to my dad before the day prior, and she told me no. She came up to me. She was like, "You're absolutely right," and I should have said something. And she apologized to me, just like, that's the choice you make. Like, there's nothing you can do about it besides like you live with it. The reality is, you never know when it's going to be the last time you speak to these people. So it's just like, despite your issues, just say, hey. Um, at that moment, I didn't want to be in church no more. I tried to get into the activity that was going on, and I just was not dealing with it. I couldn't. That I finally ate, but then I said I wanted to go home. Like I didn't want to be there, so I went with my sister-in-law. She went to go get ready for the day, like Lise, because she literally sat there like probably didn't brush her teeth, no nothing. She literally picked up the kids, wrapped them up in a blanket, put them in the car. So I'm pretty sure she didn't have. This finally was her first time to ever like Lise get herself together. I get back to the house and my mom is there. So pretty much my mom is packing up all my stuff that literally was at her house that I brought to Youngstown. And I remember just seeing my brother stuck. Just stuck. For the first time ever, I'd never seen my brothers cry and all like that. But for the first time for one of my brothers, I literally seen him cry and I was just shook. Like these are men. I didn't think men could fold and break down, but no, like guys have fucking emotions too, you know. Especially black men. Black men have emotions as well. So my mom get there and she's just looking at me. She just asked me if I was okay, and I was just like, yeah. Because at the time it's just like I feel like I did all my crying. So another person comes up to the house when everything is all said and done, and she just found out and she wanted to check on me. I told her I was fine, I was okay. And we went back home to Cleveland. I remember falling asleep. Falling asleep. I woke up and I look at the sky. I never remember seeing the sky so blue, so clear, and so bright. And it's just the reality of it was like this is a circle of life. Like realizing like this is really life. Like the circle of life. You live, you're born, you live, and you die. And a sense of me just realized like this is just a reality that you have to face now. They get the funeral arrangements and stuff like that. I did not attend my father's funeral just because of the stake of what I had witnessed and seen. And I was just like, I didn't want to see my dad all dressed up in a casket. Like, this is not what I'm supposed to see at a young age. I'm not supposed to see this shit at 9 years old. So I didn't go. All my little younger cousins that was my age is asking, like, why were you at the funeral? And I'm just like, I didn't want to be there. After that following week, I went back home to Youngstown and spent time with my brothers. Like all my brothers was finally home for once, and just literally just spent time with my family. And we moving forward on to going into the fourth grade. My mom literally had to explain to them what was going on. They put me in like this little grief program or whatever for young kids to deal with that. I promise you that shit does not work. It didn't work for me. It was not helpful at all. Sitting there going through all this grief programs and stuff like that. That shit did not help. Like it did not help. I gotta listen to other kids tell their sad stories and all stuff like that. Like a lot of other people were mentally more fucked up than I was, and like it just wasn't for me. On top of that, my last year at Hope Academy, I'm moving to Shaker Heights, get put into these programs again, and just like each time I got into a program, it just got worse and worse. Went through it at what fifth grade, no sixth grade. I went through it in middle school, and I told my mom stop putting me in that stuff. It does not help. At this time, the more I get older, the more I start understanding life and death and all that stuff like that. We take more health class and like understanding your health issues and stuff. It becomes less of pain. Over time, the pain really does go down. Um, Now we're walking into like teenagehood, high school. Man, I will never forget the conversation my dad had. I think this was like the day my brother got married or some shit like that. I will never forget this conversation. We was just I was eating. And I don't know what he did, but he scared me because I didn't like the way he was talking. He was like, next thing you know, you will be getting married, you'll become a teenager, and you'll forget about me, and you start thinking about these boys. I broke down crying, talking about I don't ever want to forget you. I don't want to love these boys. Da 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 da. Like I didn't like what my dad was saying. And we get to high school, the time frame that he was talking about. Man, these niggas ain't shit. Like, bruh, like I'm looking around like, dude, like boys is trash in high school. So my father, I'm like, yep, you're wrong because this ain't it, chief. As we're approaching like 11th grade, the pain of my father's death started to really get to me at this point. I'm like 17 now, and I was going through a lot of stuff. I was acting out in school, like I got suspended and all stuff like that, and it's just like it was wanting that extra guidance. Like as a female, as a daughter, a mother can only guide you for so long. Your brother, my brothers are like none of my brothers are in the house anymore. Everybody's grown, college, got families and all stuff like that. I'm literally by myself. And the relationship between me and my mom, it wasn't like tight, and it wasn't really. She wasn't really there for me the way I expected her to be there, the way I needed her to be there for me, and that's a whole nother conversation, and topic. And just going through the motions of losing your parent, and like now you're about to enter adulthood, it was not fun. At that one point, I felt like, yo, like maybe I should go too, cause like I don't like it here, and it's not fun without my dad and all this stuff like that. Like it really got to me. We entered senior year, and the more I progress in high school, the more I realize like I am not a Cleveland person. Like I'm not from Cleveland. I don't move like these Cleveland people, and I'm damn sure not a suburban girl. I'm not raised like these shaker females and all stuff like that. Like I realized like yo, I'm really a South Side chick for life, and my choice in college was supposed to be YSU, and I got back home because of my OGT scores and all stuff like that. But I knew I was gonna be connected with my father because my father graduated from Youngstown State University. And I was just like, okay, it just all makes sense to go back home. The business program was good. I feel like it was good, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go back. I was gonna go back home and actually, get more in touch with my city and all stuff like that. But that was not the case. I ended up putting my mother first and went to a community college. Just stayed home to be help my mom out and all that stuff like that. Now, the older I get, the more I started seeing stuff, and like the more I realized, like, I cannot sit here and not try to blame my actions. Like, oh well, my father wasn't around to guide me, and all stuff like that. But it's just the reality of it was like, you looking back, like a lot of the choices that I made wouldn't have happened if my dad was here. A lot of things would not be happening if my dad was still here, and it was that time for me going into my 20s, switching and becoming an adult. Was like realizing like, yo, the life lessons, the lessons in the conversations that you had with your dad, whatever you can remember, hold on to those because those go a long way. And for me, I kind of just live by my father's structures. My dad's guidance still kicked in from time to time. And it's a lot of things that you kind of reflect back on as you get older. You start to remember certain things like will pop up because of certain things that you're doing now, and you reflect back and you realize like, yo, our parents wouldn't want us to be doing this. Like, rather, when I speak to you about this stuff and I'm telling you this story, it's just like it doesn't matter if you lost your father, your mother, like anybody you lost, their lessons carry on through you, regardless you notice or not. And like you get reflected back. So just like, yo, certain things they're not gonna want to be proud of, and it's just like they know they would be on your ass if you did what you did. Um, at this point, I'm hitting or coming out of like my first year of college, whatever. At this point, it's probably what 10 years, 11 years since my father passed away. We're in 2020 now. I'm about to be 22 in a few weeks. Literally, last year, I really accepted that my father was gone for good. There's no coming back. It's time to let that go and like move forward with life. I hovered for so long. I remember I used to get so mad when people were like, "Oh, but get over it." And it's like it was people that was telling me to get over it that had absent fathers in their life. And I can't relate. I can relate now, but to a certain degree, it's like I had my parents in my life. My father was in my life, and it hurt so much to lose my dad is because that man literally looked me in my face and said that you are the blessing and that made my life complete. All he ever wanted, his last kid would be a daughter. All he needed was a daughter and he would be good for life. The love, the unconditional love, despite the issues my father had, my father loved me. It was that love that like I'm not going to witness ever again in life. The guidance, the love, the affection, the like just to feel safe. It hurts. It hurts to lose someone that loves you and pray for you and all something like that. What made you want to look into the partner that you're going to have in the future to have that type of love and affection. And I haven't had that safetyness, that safety net, that love and affection since my ex. And to lose that, you kind of go back into this like shield that you worked over time to let go and all stuff like that. And it's not easy. It's not easy to lose a person that really genuinely loves you and care for you while you're stuck with a whole bunch of other people that literally tears you down mentally and does not support you, does not believe in you, and just negative energy. I think that's what hurts the most because it's just that sense of love that you're not going to experience in the long ever again. And the only time you're actually going to experience is like through God. And I never lost my faith. And I witnessed like some family members, like once my father left, oh, they changed. They changed for the good. A lot of us started switching up our diets because my dad was really sick. I didn't know until I looked at his like death certificate and realized like my dad had cancer, my dad had type 2 diabetes, like my dad was really sick, and he just always procrastinated to like get himself together, and like pretty much once he decided to do it, it's too late. But I would never fault my dad. I would never hate my dad for any of the stuff that went between our relationship. It was more than knowing that my dad is at peace, and that's all I cared about. Now, as an adult, over time, when they say time heals, it does. And if you don't believe that, it's because you're hovering a hurt that you need to let go. I can't sit here and hold grudge and hate the world and hate God and all stuff like that because like it's the reality of life that we go through. We lose loved ones, we lose people that are close to us. It be the good ones, and sometimes yeah, you want to question God, but the reality is like sometimes he gotta call home his strongest soldiers. Now I write, I vent clearly like I'm doing right now, and I talk about it. I lost a friend of mine to make me realize, like, you know what? Now you really gotta go through these emotions. Like, I haven't cried that much since my father passed away. Like, my friend recently who passed, like, she literally, her death made me realize, like, girl, you gotta fall sometimes. Like, you literally go ahead and cry and go through the emotions. Not get over it, but literally go through it so you can see it. So you can see through it and see clearly moving forward. I know that it's probably not the easiest thing to go through. Some people really think that they will never get through it, but you will get through it. I can testify to that. Like, you will get through it. Some days it's harder than others, and some days it's not. There will be times where you know what? It's harder than the rest, and you will hit hard. I mean, it will literally knock you out to the point where just like you sit and you're alone. My dad's death caused me to have like minor depression from time to time. And sometimes I can sink super low to the point where it's just like, you know what? Maybe it's my time to go. I can't lie. I have had thoughts of like suicide before and committing suicide, but I snap out of it because like I have too much to lose. And my life is just getting started. You know. Um my advice and what I can say that your heart I'm gonna tell the truth. Your heart is never gonna heal. I feel like there's a hole in my heart since I lost my father, and I feel like that space has not been healed or complete. I didn't low key went a little crazy, thinking like maybe if I have a kid, would that help? Like maybe that would fill the heart up, but it's just like it doesn't. It's a different type of pain until like you really sit there and witness that. When you have a good relationship with somebody, with your parents, it hurts. It really really hurts. All I can say is you will get through it. Let time heal you, and don't do it. Don't heal just to get over it. Heal to get through it. Because overall, you're never gonna fully recover. Like there is really no time where you just realize that like the hurt is gone. Yeah, you will accept the fact that this person's gone for good whenever that time comes. Everybody time difference is like different. But don't, I promise you, do not tell someone to get over it. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. You're just targeting, like you're literally poking at the open wound. You can't tell somebody that lost someone close to them. to get over it. Until you lose someone that's close to you, you're never gonna understand the pain that people like me and others that go through. And one thing that did help with therapy is to write to that person. There's been times where I didn't openly wrote in letters and I posted it. Like, I let people see side that like, yo, like this is reality what I sit here had to go through. Like this is the pain and I'm willing to share it. And certain people, there's ways we get over it, but it's like do it in the healthiest way. So you know that person would want you to see you do this or do that or whatever. You gotta stay strong. Honestly, that's one of the biggest things. You have to stay strong. I don't know where my life would be at or how I will be if I didn't have the backbone and strength that my dad instilled in me. I've always been told, even at a young age, like I was a strong girl. Like it's just my spirit was always strong, and it just seemed like falling down, breaking down, or folding is never an option for me. Yeah, I can sit there and cry through, but at the end of the day, once that's all out, I have no choice but to just keep it pushing. And that's the reality of losing a loved one. Like you just have to keep it going. The thing about it is, like, I'm literally looking around like, yo, like, my life really does continue on going. This person dies and that, stuff like that. Like, bruh, I go. I remember what the first time ever, like, over the first year, going back home was so hard for me to do. Going back home to Youngstown was, like, the hardest thing ever. I felt guilty. I felt sick. I felt nervous. Like, it felt uncomfortable to go back home. But now I'm at peace with it. Now it's like my safe haven to get away from the city of Cleveland, the city like my friends, and like just really to reset. I have to reset sometimes because I would literally drive myself crazy here. So being from Youngstown, despite what everybody else think, there's nothing there. But that is my heaven. That's like my safe home. I said that's my safe house to reset, to reevaluate myself, to reinstill my roots, and to keep it going. To anybody that's tuning in right now that's dealing with a loved one, keep your head up, keep going, and stay strong. Though the times like this are never going to get easier, you may feel like it's never going to get easy, it will never overcome you. It will, but do it at your pace and your time. Don't let nobody else tell you that you need to get over it. Because the reality is, it's your pain. It's the person that you lost. And I feel like you'll make it. If I'm sitting here still surviving, after what 12 years now, I feel like everybody else can do it too. So just recover in your peace and in your time, and allow death to, when you lose a loved one, allow their death to evolve you to be the strongest person you ever. Because you know what, the baton has been passed to you, and now you got to keep the race going for them, for yourself, and for whoever is around you. You got kids, you got to keep it going because life is not gonna wait for you. Life gonna keep going at the end of the day.